Our ninth speaker tonight is Erik Thoresen. Erik is founder of MethodSync, a Chicago-based developer of digital innovation tools. Erik is also the author of the book Team Next, a foundation for building agile innovation teams. Erik is passionate about genuinely good ideas and has worked closely with dozens of companies as an advisor and researcher over the last decade. So please welcome Erik.
Hey. All right, so this is my 8-year-old son's interpretation of me for Halloween. And I think he kind of got the hairdo right, but besides that, I don't really see myself as an angry pumpkin. And it kind of got me thinking, this is why we take assessments, right? Whether it's the Cosmo quiz or the Myers-Briggs, we do assessments so that we can better understand who we are and how we interact with others in the world. So at MethodSync, we looked at all the different big assessments, small assessments, tried to figure out ways to see how they connected with innovation. And more specifically, do any of these assessments predict innovation success for teams? Now, before we get into some of the cool data that we've come across, I just want to talk a little bit about how we define innovation. Innovation to us is basically doing what's next. Right? There's a lot on breakthrough innovation out there, but we're more interested in everyday innovators, in the challenges that they face. And when you think about it, the range of challenges that are out there are numerous, right? They range from everything from reward structures to leadership styles and everything in between. And so we looked for about 3 months for sort of some sledgehammer style factors that would tell us, hey, this is something that's easy to control. And we got really deep into looking into team dynamics and how those impact the innovation process. This is exciting stuff, I can tell. Right. One of the things we came across that was sort of universal through all the research that we did was that team size tends to impact innovation performance in general, right? And we're not the first people to know this. There's a lot of academic research on that, but there's also a lot of business practices. For example, Amazon.com has a 2-pizza rule, that any team should be only large enough that it can be fed by 2 large pizzas, right? So Google has a similar rule. They say teams should be about 3 to 6 people to be most productive, which brings us obviously to spiders. Spiders are loners. Like, I'm kind of a loner in the work that I do, but I understand that, you know, as an individual spider, I can only build a web so big, right? But when spiders work together as teams, they can build webs that have been, I think the largest one is as big as a football field. That's a pretty big web. But only 0.1% of the 39,000 species of spiders works as, you know, like as a team. So we are better than spiders. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So this was our sample from the survey we did, and this was people who were engaged in innovation work. And it turns out about 1 in 5 are on these sort of mega teams. These are teams that are more than 10 people. And so we were curious what those teams did differently, and we found out that if you're on one of those larger teams, you are 3 times less likely to participate in ideation work. And if you're in innovation, that's like the best part of innovation, you know? And so that was one learning. We asked a lot of questions too, besides pizza-based questions, about communications, and it turns out that smaller teams, to no surprise, are excellent at communication compared to larger teams. And so that's another benefit that they have. We found that smaller teams are less structured. In a lot of cases, that's bad. But for innovation work, having a little less structure allows you to go beyond, go farther. And so that's another benefit that smaller teams have over larger teams. So exciting stuff from our research. We did find, though, that only about 20%, actually 18% of organizations use sort of ad hoc small teams to solve immediate challenges. And we think that that's a great area where firms can learn to grow and adopt this research and become way cooler. Last point, larger teams, folks who are on larger teams are less experienced with failure, right? And that's really important in innovation, to be able to fail and fail with style. So a few takeaways: build with scale in mind. If you think about P&G, Google X, right? They basically, systematized and done a very good job of running concurrent innovation programs. Also, size matters a lot, right, for teams. There's a group of 5 researchers in Europe who've developed a new technology to take hair from a mouse that's human hair and then transplant it onto the human head. I'm very excited about this technology. But just one final thing, it doesn't work if your culture sucks, right? If your culture doesn't embrace all this stuff, having the right size team, won't do you much good. There's a quote I want to end with by Margaret Mead, who, if you know anything, a couple decades back, pretty influential person. And if you're a fan of Nickelback, was in their 2006 video on some song. But the first time I read this, it kind of hit me back here. With Nickelback playing, it was... Right. So thanks for your time. Have a good one.